Welcome to the Magnum Report. I'm your host, Mark Magnum, and today my topic is who is better out of the 2002 class of OVW. And before I get started, I would like to say please like, subscribe, share, also hit that notification icon so you don't miss out on new content. Now into it. My topic, like I said, was the top OVW guys from 2002. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a top 5 list of the guys that I think were the best out of that class. And I'm going to start off with number 5, and that would be Batista. Now, Batista, he's a former 4-time World Heavyweight Champion. He's a former 2-time WWE Champion. He's won 2 Royal Rumbles, even though, let's be honest, that second one, nobody wanted him to win. He's also won 4 tag team titles. And I mean, he was Vince McMahon's wet dream. I mean, when you think of the guys that Vince McMahon pushed heavily back in the day, back in the golden era, like the Hulk Hogan's and guys like that, Ultimate Warrior, guys that were the bigger, muscular, monster type guys. He was pushing those guys heavily back in the day. And like I said, this was definitely a guy that Vince McMahon was big on when he came in. And when they finally put him in Evolution and all that, he was a terrible bumper though. And he's not the only one on this list that I've got that was a terrible bumper, but Batista was not the greatest bumper, but he was a big guy. So honestly, what do you expect? It's not something to be greatly surprised with, but he's one of those guys that wasn't the greatest talker. I mean, he got there eventually, but I mean, he wasn't that top-notch promo like some of the other, like one of the other guys more specifically that I'm going to mention later on in this top 5 list. But he was good for what he did. I mean, for a big monster guy, I mean, he was somewhat agile. I'm not like a lot of people that were just totally down on Batista. I liked Batista for what he did, but on this list of guys from 2002 from OVW, he's definitely going to be at the bottom of this list for me. So we'll go on to number 4, and that is Shelton Benjamin, somebody that I feel is highly underrated, highly overlooked. And, this is a guy that is a 3-time Intercontinental Champion. He's also a 1-time United States Champion. He won 3 tag team titles in WWE. And let's just all ignore that 24/7 title win that he had because, come on, the 24/7 title was kind of garbage. But it is what it is. But he was a legit shooter. He's one of these guys that actually had a collegiate background when it came to wrestling and the high school and all that kind of stuff, to where he was a good grappler, to where he fit in very well. Just like my last person on my list, Batista, he was not the greatest talker, but in ring, oh my God, Shelton Benjamin was so, I feel, underutilized in his time in WWE. Yeah, like I said, you heard some of his credentials that I listed off, but for a guy with his abilities, his technique, some of the things that Shelton could do in the ring. I mean, we still talk about the super kick that he took from Shawn Michaels, where he springboarded into the ring and Shawn Michaels caught him with the sweet chin music. I mean, just stuff like that is just remarkable from Shelton Benjamin. I mean, they first brought him in and he was beating Triple H. He was beating some of the bigger name guys, to where it seemed like Shelton was gonna possibly do something in WWE of significance more than just the titles that I rifled off. I figured maybe with one of them many Money in the Bank matches that he was in, maybe he'd be the guy to win, but he never was one of those guys. But speaking of somebody that has won a Money in the Bank, this goes into my number 3. And my number 3 out of these guys is John Cena. Now, a lot of people are going to be all up in arms. Oh, what? John Cena's the greatest of all time. Not in my book. And here's why. Well, first we'll get into his credentials like I've done with everybody else. He's a 13-time WWE champion, a 2-time heavyweight champion. He's also a 4-time tag team champion, a 5-time United States champion. He's won 2 Royal Rumbles. He's another one that's won multiple, that where it's kind of like he really didn't need a Rumble, but he's won 2 Rumbles, and he's also a Money in the Bank winner. He is, in my opinion, unanimously the worst bumper in the history of wrestling, but he is, in my opinion, out of the guys on this list that I'm going to rifle off and name off, he, in my opinion, is the best talker. Hands down. I can say whatever I want about his bumping and some of his selling, but when it comes down to it at the end of the day, he is the best talker, and I have to acknowledge that, and I have to, give credence to that. and make sure that I get that, apparently and abundantly clear that he was a good talker. Now, bumping, selling, I don't know. That's something that I'm not too big on with Cena, because when I wrestled, that was one of my big things, was being big on bumping, big on selling it, making the people believe. And I've always thought that wrestling was like a magic show. And, we all know that, magic is fake and magic is an illusion. But it's that simple thing of making people believe, making people truly believe in what you're doing, and making them believe to the point that they suspend their disbelief. And even if they know going in, all right, these other matches that we saw, some of them were garbage. Not with this guy, because I believe what he's doing out there. And with Cena, there was a lot of stuff that just pushed him over and smashed him over. He always was winning. And that's one of my reasons why I was never that big on Cena. Kind of like a lot of people now aren't too big on Roman Reigns. Just for over the years, they've shoveled him down our throat. So there's that. But I mean, Cena's not bad. I'm not a Cena hater or nothing like that. But he was never one of my guys that I was big on when he was coming up. I mean, maybe in the Doctor of Thugonomics era, maybe a little bit, but not so much now. Once he evolved into what he ended up becoming, no, I'm not too big on what he ended up becoming. But on to my number 2, and he just recently came back at Survivor Series. And no, it's not CM Punk. Number 2 on my list is Randy Orton. Randy Orton is a former 10-time WWE champion, a former 2-time World Heavyweight champion. He's won 4 tag team titles, an Intercontinental title, 2 Royal Rumble wins, yet another one that don't know if he needed that second one. And he's also a Money in the Bank winner, which another one that I don't know if he necessarily needed the Money in the Bank, just like Cena and just like somebody else I have on this list. But I think he's quite possibly has the greatest finisher in the history of wrestling, or at least one of them. He's in the at least top 5. I don't know where some people say stunner, some people say this, some people say that. Randy Orton's RKO is one of those moves, and they protected it well throughout these years, just like they did with Sheamus's bro kick. You don't really see too many people kick out of the RKO. The Cenas, maybe a Triple H, but the rest of the roster, they stayed down and they laid down. And with that move, I mean, just some of the angles, what he did with some of the other guys, like what he just did at Survivor Series with JD McDonough, some of the stuff he's did with Matt Sydal. I mean, just some of these RKOs. The one he did, obviously, the one from WrestleMania that he did with Seth Rollins. I mean, there's just so many awesome RKOs that Randy Orton has hit, to where I swear, to me, that is one of the greatest, easily, finishers in the history of the business. But enough of me gushing about Randy Orton. Now, into my number 1. And my number 1 is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a 7-time WWE champion. He is a 2-time Universal champion, a King of the Ring winner. He's a 2-time Royal Rumble winner. Don't know if he needed that last one a couple years ago at all. That was kind of pointless, in my opinion. And he's also a Money in the Bank winner. He, just like Shelton Benjamin, is a legit shooter. And he is easily, in my opinion, one of the most believable professional wrestlers that I've seen in generations. I mean, he's easily, you look at him, you believe it. And then he's got the UFC pedigree, the amateur wrestling pedigree. Plus, he can just go in there and he just look at him. Like, he looks like a killer. He looks like somebody that would murk you. And just the things that Brock Lesnar has done. I mean, granted, the shooting star press that he messed up at WrestleMania 19 against Kurt Angle. I mean, I've got my own videotapes at home from OVW back in the day from Christmas Chaos. And just seeing him actually pull a shooting star. This was long before he actually made it up to the main roster at that point. But I'd already seen that and already knew that he could pull a shooting star press. So when he tried it at WrestleMania, even though in my opinion, thinking back, even then, thinking he might be out a little too far, Brock. And he was. In the end, he was. But I knew he could hit stuff like that. And to see a guy that big, basically 300 pounds, that can do a shooting star press and just make it look beautiful, I mean, Brock Lesnar is one of these guys, and I mean, you can take him or leave him. I know he's, in the last several years since he's returned back to WWE, he's been a part-timer. And he's here and there. They only bring him in for key spots, key roles, key, PLEs, pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them. And I get it. He's an attraction now. He's at that stage of his career. He don't need to do the week-to-week. I can't even tell you the last time he's actually wrestled on television. I think of the Kofi Kingston match on the premiere of SmackDown on Fox where he beat him in like 8 seconds. And that's like the last match he's had on television. And SmackDown's been on Fox for like the last 3-4 years now. So, I mean, he doesn't wrestle on TV. So that is a knock to him. And he's not the greatest talker either, but I think in these last several years, he's finally come into his own, especially now that they've got him away from Paul Heyman, and he kind of has to talk. And what he does now is believable on the mic. It's not that forced, because Brock Lesnar doesn't have the strongest voice. He don't have a Mike Tyson voice, but when you look at him and then he talks, you don't expect that voice to come out of that man. But he's came into his own with talking, and he's gotten better with that with time, just like Randy Orton, because I don't think Randy Orton was the greatest at talking either when he first came in. I think he was learning his way, just like a lot of guys have to. A lot of guys aren't just naturals like The Rock or naturals like Cena at talking. Some guys, it takes time for them to evolve. Some guys never get it, like Shelton Benjamin. He got better too, but he's never been one of these guys where, oh man, I can't wait for a Shelton Benjamin promo. With John Cena, whether I loved him, whether I hated him, no matter what, I always wanted to hear what he had to say. And with Randy Orton, kind of the same thing. Even though he wasn't the greatest promo in the beginning, now I want to hear what he has to say. Brock Lesnar, I want to hear what he has to say. And that's part of this when I choose my list. But when I just look at Brock Lesnar and just think to myself, he is a killer. And when I look at this class of 2002 from OVW, all of them are awesome competitors. Great guys. It was a great class. There was other guys in that class that I could have named, but these are the 5 guys, in my opinion, especially Shelton Benjamin, because I could have put other guys on this list. But I felt Shelton Benjamin needed to be on this list because I felt like he was so underutilized and so just overlooked when he was on the main roster. And I mean, yeah, they've done stuff with him. And like I said, you heard what I rifled off for his credentials and what he has done in WWE. And he's done stuff, obviously, in Ring of Honor with Charlie Haas and other things, obviously. But in WWE, I don't think they gave him his just due. And I wish they would have. It was a shame when he got released earlier this year when Endeavor bought, WWE and they're now TKO and they did their talent cuts. It's a shame that it happened to him, because I feel like he's a guy that they could have got a whole lot more mileage out of. But anyway, before I get off here, let me know what you guys think. Who was your guys' favorite from that 2002 OVW class? I mean, give me your top 5 list and let me know who you think and why. So let me know in the comments on that. But also, make sure you subscribe to my other podcast, the Mark and the Fan Wrestling Podcast, where me and my boy, the Cisco Kid, we talk about all things wrestling. About to start up season 2 here soon. We got a lot of things going on with Christmas going on. But here in the new year, I know we're about to start up real soon. So make sure you subscribe to that channel. I'll make sure I put a link in the description of this video so you guys can find that channel. And also, like I said, please subscribe to this channel and make sure you hit that notification icon and that like button so you don't miss out on any new content from me. But anyway, this has been another edition of the Magnum Report. Thank you for watching.